welcome everybody to a new episode of Game Rivals. I'm your host Maximilian X, coming to you as always from the interwebs, bringing you the gaming news that you deserve to hear, and maybe a little bit more if we have the time for that. But it's a lot of news that I have for you this week, and I want to get through them as quickly as possible for all you lovely people, all you fellow rivals over there. So let's just jump right into it and just talk about. Well, actually, let's get the big one out of the way: Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. We were talking about them again, but as we're getting closer to hopefully the deal finally being settled, Microsoft has had to do some things, at least when it comes to the UK, where their deal was blocked by the CMA, which is the governing body there in the UK that is like, hey, you guys can't do that because you'll have a monopoly on cloud gaming services, which I guess mostly because of the whole, like, if they fold in the Activision Blizzard, I wanted to say portfolio. Yeah, portfolio. Yeah. So basically, the whole Activision Blizzard library being a part of Game Pass and being a part of Xbox Cloud Gaming would be seen as a monopoly by them. So naturally, after the whole FDA thing, FCC deal not working out, and Microsoft getting the go ahead essentially from the courts to move on with the acquisition. They still had to work out some things in the UK with the CMA, and that seems hopefully for them to come to a head where they have struck a deal with another game company to take over the Activision Blizzard license for specifically streaming games on the cloud in the UK. And we're talking about Ubisoft in this case. So Ubisoft is going to buy the rights to Activision Blizzard's gaming library in the UK, specifically for streaming the games in the UK. Now, I don't remember when Ubisoft had a cloud streaming service, but suffice to say, if they're gonna do this, they probably have something in the works. Probably piggybacking off Ubisoft Plus, of course. Let's not forget that Ubisoft Plus, if that is the case, at least for people living in the UK, they're gonna get way longer access to like Call of Duty and the like, beyond the 10-year uh, agreement that they have with Sony right now. Because if this is the case, then if Ubisoft takes over those streaming rights, then games like Call of Duty will be available on PlayStation, because PlayStation, of course, don't forget, is about to get Ubisoft Plus support. And if it's on there, then they should technically be able to stream it through that service on PlayStation devices. And the deal that they have set for those rights is 15 years. Also into perpetuity. It's the legal mumbo jumbo. It's a little bit vague, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be one. I just play one in a video game called Phoenix Wright. No, I'm not Phoenix Wright, but you know what I mean. I play anybody that plays a Phoenix Wright game is Phoenix Wright. That's what I mean. But pertaining to this, if this goes through and the CMA agrees that this is enough of a separation from Microsoft and Activision in terms of at least cloud gaming, then they're done. That's it. Um, then by October, I want to say October 18th, yeah, um, we'll probably hear that the deal's done and that come probably effectively immediately, um, Microsoft will own Activision Blizzard, or they do set a time for end date for it specifically to have the deal like done. we'll find out about that too as well, which is, I guess, good for Microsoft and good for Ubisoft. Uh, Honestly, I think they're the bigger winners out of this one than Microsoft is. But then again, it's just for the cloud streaming rights, not for anything else. So yeah, Microsoft's still the big winner out of this one, and one step closer to becoming a gaming monopoly. That is so not that. Mm, did not enjoy saying that one bit. Oh boy. Uh, we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if that's gonna be a thing, but considering that, um, at least like places like the CMA took it seriously, and the FTC to a certain degree took it seriously. Um, Honestly, I think they were just like trying to get some clout. I don't know what the FTC tried to do by trying to pretend to block it, even though they did not put up a good fight in the end. Um, but speaking of putting up a good fight in the end, apparently, Starfield, the next big game from Bethesda, um, got leaked early. So when I say got leaked early, I'm of course talking about physical copies of the game because the game's already open for preload. So if you have an Xbox Series or I think the preload for PC should also be now. Um, by the time you're listening to this, by the time you're listening to this, if you're listening to it on the day that it dropped, first of all, thank you. Second of all, your if you pre-ordered the game, you're days away from playing Starfield. If you didn't pre-order the game, or if you're playing it through Game Pass, you're a little over a week away from playing the game. So it's not like, there's a big difference, kind of, sort of, but not really. And it's a single player game, so it doesn't really matter if you're getting it earlier or later. It just means that if you pre-ordered it and if you're a streamer, you have clout. Um, so yeah, I do not have the time for that. So bye bye clout. But I will be checking out people streaming it and checking it out a little bit, not too much because I do want to experience it myself. I already have it preloaded on my Series X S. Sorry, I don't have a Series X. I don't have that kind of money. Uh, and yeah, so I am cautiously optimistic for this. Kind of like I'm cautiously optimistic for the live action One Piece show. But yeah, um, it got leaked, and someone tried to. As far as I know, the game itself hasn't been leaked yet, but someone did boot it up and showed off the start screen, which looks like a Bethesda start screen. It's actually kind of really pretty. It's very simple. It's sober, somber, somber. It is somber. It is sci-fi, but it's very simple and somber. And whew, some people did not take well to it. Specifically, a former Blizzard developer who took to the internet and to the place formerly known as Twitter to express his feelings about it. Where he said, "Hey, next time," replying to someone on formerly known as Twitter. Hey, next time you and the lovely folks over at Bethesda Games Softworks, instead of rushing to make a game with many systems, fractions, choices, and ways to play, I would urge you to only focus on the title screen, so you guys won't appear to be hasty or simply didn't care. This is coming from gosh darn, I have to open it up here. I forgot. Uh, Coming from Jason, who used to be at used to work at Blizzard. Um, and people were like trying to like be. I don't know if people were split on it, but yeah, people had their opinions on that notion, including Pete Hines from Bethesda, who clapped back, as it were. Okay, clapped back. This might be a little bit of an exaggeration, but he did respond to the tweet, saying, and I quote, "Or they designed what they wanted, and that's been our menu for years, and was one of the first things we settled on. Having an opinion is one thing. Questioning out a developer's care, in quotes, because you would have done it differently is a highly unprofessional coming from another dev, in quotes, end quote." Oof. I have to say, that is a beautiful clapback by Pete Hines. Just saying. I mean, he's not wrong, right? Um, just because a menu screen, and it's a menu screen that you see only at the start, by the way, is simple by design, doesn't mean that the game was rushed or whatever. If you feel like you could have done a better job at representing the game or invoking a feeling, which this screen definitely does, is yeah. I mean, yeah. Pete Hines says it best. It's it's very unprofessional if you're like a developer, or at least someone who used to be a developer who doesn't develop games anymore. um, has this kind of opinion, just puts it out there like it's facts. It's like, bro, no, that's not chill. To say it like that, because first of all, you don't know like what their process was and why they chose to have it be that way. And again, Bethesda tends to make these start screens that do invoke kind of the atmosphere of what they're going for. And yeah, it's not always bombastic. Like, you have games that have bombastic start screens, and it fits that game if it needs to be. But not all of them have to be that way. Like if you look at, for example, uh, if you look for example at Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom's title screens, they're relatively simple. One, the former cycles throughout art styles. The latter is a shot at a mural with magic squigglies floating around very daintily and very calm and serene, like the moment before a disaster. Again, I mean to say that the disaster in the game, not that the game is a disaster. It's not. It's brilliant. It's 10 out of 10. Would play again and have played again, and probably game of the year. But besides that, Pete Hines clapping back. Honestly, I gotta give him props for that one. So there's that. Um, speaking of, oh dear, this one is actually kind of brilliant. Speaking of actually picking up like more with more Starfield news. So remember how I said that the game got kind of like leaked early? Um, yeah. So there was another person who got their hands on a copy of the game. Like I said, talking about like the hard disk copy, the one that you put in an Xbox Series X and play. Yeah, he decided, hey, I'm gonna be the cool kid and leak almost an hour worth of like footage of the game. It's the opening stuff, like create a character, stuff like that, like the beginning of the game, stuff that people would either wait patiently for when someone streams it, or even more patiently, wait until they get their own hands on it and experience it for themselves. And I know that there are people out there that don't care about either of that and just want to see the game either which way, even if it is leaked early, so that they can go on the internet and spoil it for everybody else. This dude got caught. And I don't mean like got caught by the internet because he posted it on the internet. So no. I mean, he got caught by the cops. And yeah, they charged him with some felony charges. Oh, dear me. Yeah. So this dude lived in Tennessee, got arrested by the Shelby County Sheriff's Office in Tennessee. Um, and he was arrested on August 24th. Um, and the site confirms that Harris is facing one felony charge for possessing stolen property worth worth $2,500 to $10,000. A misdemeanor charge for possession of stolen property is worth $1,000 or less, and one misdemeanor charge for possession of marijuana. Huh. I mean, it is Tennessee, so I guess they don't have like weed laws. They have anti-weed laws still. It's worth noting that the publicly available booking records did not mention that Starfield by name, but it's not a drastic leap to assume that that was the stolen property that there was. Yeah, I mean that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I'm not going to mention this person by name because I don't want to give him any more infamy that he already has. Plus, you can easily find this on anywhere. Um, but uh, oh, I think if I'm not mistaken, maybe it's happened before and it's never been reported on because nobody knows because like they tend to obscure stuff in like the bookings for stuff like this. But the fact that we know that the person got caught is only due to the fact that it happened so rapidly in succession. Like he got caught like literally days after leaking the footage. So that means that Bethesda probably got on that real quick, and they probably figured out where this person was, assuming they put it in their own personal Xbox Series X. If they booted it up, then it would have pinged the Microsoft servers and probably give himself away. So he essentially docks himself towards Microsoft. This is my take, by the way. I'm not saying that that's how they got to him. This is my take on how they probably got to him, because that would make sense, unless he disconnected it from the internet. I don't think that's a thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that they worked with like law enforcement, and then they figured out, oh, this person lives here, and blah 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 blah. Most likely, and that's how they probably got him. And I'm not sure. Uh, but kudos. I think this is the first time anybody's been caught with hot items. When I say hot, I mean like stolen goods. Uh, so that sucks for him. Uh, remember, rivals, crime does not pay unless it's in a video game. Then it's okay. Pretend, good, real, bad. Oh my gosh, that makes it sound like I'm not even doing it seriously, but I am 100% serious on that. Speaking of being 100% serious, you know who's also a very serious person, a very serious individual? The president of Nintendo, Shintaro Furukawa, who recently had an interview with the NHK, and parts of it got translated, and we had privy to have these translated parts. So basically, they asked them a couple of questions, but a few things that stuck out is one of the questions that they asked Nintendo was about how they are still feeling about like relevancy and how they can move forward as a company and still revolutionize gaming in their way or in a general way, of course. Um, and yeah, basically, he answered thusly, in quote, "While there's no particular technology we are focusing on at the moment, we are we are conducting research on a variety of new technologies. However, I believe the most important thing for our company is not seeking new technologies for novelty's sake, but rather considering how they can lead revolutions in the act to play itself. The idea is that we become convinced that incorporating a certain technology can provide customers with a fresh and surprising experience. Then we covet its research more strongly, making investments when necessary as well." End quote. Which, yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? Especially considering Nintendo's history when it comes to doing their like making their consoles and thinking about things, and like they again are not. trend followers, because if they were trend followers, then we'd have a box sitting next besides our Xbox and our PlayStation box, and being like beaming like 4K like resolution, like going all apes and bananas over ray tracing and all that jazz. And not to say that those are bad things, just saying that that doesn't necessarily make a game good or fun. So him reiterating on the fact that do do they do their research, and they tend to latch on to stuff that they find interesting, regardless of if it's like super duper future tech or not, says a lot. So that's great to hear. Another thing that he was asked about, is of course pertaining to stuff like the success of the Super Mario Brothers movie, and like Super Nintendo World opening up and that being a thing. And yeah, like what is their strategy going forward? And Furukawa-san explained that they have to put things out that people want, because that is the focus for them. They're not looking at it as, oh, we're competing with Xbox and like PlayStation. They're looking at it as that combat their real rivals their real rivals is the entertainment industry, and basically anything that is taking your time off from entertainment, which is not playing a Nintendo hardware, or being like or doing anything associated with Nintendo, like for example going to the movies and watching a Nintendo pictures movie, or going to the theme park. So to that, he responded as follows, and quote: "We always keep in mind that if we do not keep putting out things that people truly want, they'll get bored of us. Right now, there are various forms of entertainment besides video games. I believe that making people want to spend their precious time on video games, and Nintendo games no less, is a very harsh battle. We approach everything we have while resolved. Ugh. We approach everything while resolved to the fact that any time people may start thinking they don't need Nintendo games anymore." End quote. Which is true. I mean, it's pretty much true for any other gaming company out there, right? I mean, just look at how people look at Xbox over the past couple of years, and being all like, oh, Xbox barely has any if at all exclusives. And to a certain degree that was true. And it still is, because again, they haven't released a lot of exclusives over the past, I want to say 5 years. Compared to like Sony, compared to Nintendo, and even Nintendo's output, let's be real, has also slowed down since they entered the HD space. They'll have years where they put out a lot of games, but they'll also have years where they put out barely any games. And to be fair, this year seemed like it would have been one of those years. And then they announced a whole bunch of games coming out in the second half of this year that people did not know about at all, which was very beautiful, and are looking forward to. So yeah, so even Nintendo has been able to keep up with it. Um, no matter how you look at it and think about it and slice it, they've been able to keep up. Sony has been able to keep up to a certain degree. Microsoft has barely been able to keep up, because the last game that they released that was an exclusive, that was a Microsoft title, was Halo Infinite. And well, um, the less we say about how that was received and how that came out, the better. Um, and again, I hope that 343 gets their act together and like is able to fix it, like how Dice has been able to fix Battlefield uh, 2042. But those things take time. And yes, the next game is on the horizon, and that is Starfield. But after Starfield, what's next? I think the only thing that's on the horizon right now is a new Forza game. And I have to double check if that is even coming out this year because I'm not even 100% sure on that. And even if it is, it's a racing sim game. It is a very niche title. This is saying a lot considering that Starfield is supposed to be an RPG. So, yeah, they are releasing. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, so even though they are putting stuff out, it's really slow. It's really slow and slim pickings. A lot of Microsoft's library at this point is all third party titles, which is great, but it is also something that you can pick up on other systems. So, yeah, it comes back around with what with what Furukawa says, in that it is a harsh battle for like at least like a game company from a game company's perspective, trying to like get the most attention out of everything you have because you have your game consoles, you have your PCs, you have your tablets, you have your smartphones, and all of these things want your attention. They crave your attention, and it is a harsh battle to fight. So I get it from that perspective. Um, harsh battles aside, harsh battles aside, you sometimes do have to like pick your battles, right? And choose what you want to bring out and what you want to do, what you leave on the cutting room floor, regardless of what it could be. And in this case, Ubisoft reported on this a while ago that they canceled a in development sequel to Immortals Phoenix Rising, which just got abruptly canceled to refocus their efforts on the Assassin's Creed franchise and the like. And we found out more recently why they decided to why they like what kind of direction this game was going. And honestly, it sounds so cool. So basically, what they were going for was they were trying to go for a yes semi open world game with with more focus of going away from what Ubisoft is known for, like the whole like quest markers and blah 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 blah. And like it seems like the team um actually looked at other games in the industry that have been doing well without all those stuff and also being open world games like Elden Ring and even like The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, um, to name a few. Well, actually, those were named in the article. Um, and like taking the good points from those games and implementing it into Phoenix Rising 2, which had the code name of Oxygen. Um, so this game would have been this would have been so cool. This game would have been set in the Polynesian archipelago, and it would have followed a new character, and you'd be going from island to island, big islands, small islands. Um, even places like New Zealand, Tahiti, the Easter Islands, and Hawaii. Come on, like that already sounds cool. And if you know anything about like Polynesian mythology and lore and history, like mostly history, it is fascinating. And for them to focus on that area, not just focus on that area, but get experts in on Polynesian history and mythos to like accurately help them with the lore for the game's adaptation. That's cool. They were putting in the effort for this one, and they just said like, "Nope, we're pulling the plug. We're gonna focus on Assassin's Creed because that is our future." I don't know if that is the future, but hmm, I'm gonna be honest here. It is very heartbreaking to hear about it. Now, even more so, because when it came out, we barely knew anything about it. Now we do. And it's like this was like way more going to be way more different because they were going to focus on exploration that did not need any of those like annoying quest markers that they have come to rely on pretty much every other game that they've made, specifically those in Assassin's Creed, which I'm almost sure that Mirage still uses those things. I have to double check and make sure if that is true or not. But the fact that they were like ambitious enough to look at stuff like Elden Ring, look at stuff like like Wind Waker and like Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that, is a testament of them wanting to do something different with this franchise and make it a true franchise in and of itself. Like inspiration from like good games, being inspired by good games and trying to incorporate all the good lessons from those games into your own is the probably one of the better ways of making a game these days. Because otherwise you end up with like stupid lazy ports. Red Dead Redemption. Um and yeah, that's not cool. It is sad to see. I don't know if they'll ever have a chance to revisit this particular series again. I hope so. And I hope that they're able to pick up at least some of the stuff that they worked on and maybe evolve it from there even further. But I don't know. At this point, I don't know really. All right, so there's a few things that I wanted to talk about more before we end the episode. So, um another thing that we're going to go back to Microsoft in a bit, but first I want to talk about the the most odd thing that Sony has announced, I guess, since the PS Go. Actually, no, the PS Go is still a functional thing that makes sense or made sense back in the day. Now it's pretty much useless because the PSP store is dead. But that's besides the point. What is the point is that our little Project Q that they showed off earlier in the year finally has a proper name and a price point. Still no date though. Uh, I'm assuming it's coming out this year. I'm not 100% sure. Uh, but it has a name and we know a bit more about how it works. And Project Q is now known as PlayStation Portable. And it is exactly what it is that we know about it before and a little bit more. So, what is PlayStation Portable? PlayStation Portable is, of course, a streaming device for the PlayStation 5, specifically for your PlayStation 5. Because the way it works is that it streams through remote play to that device, which basically is a 8-inch, 8-inch, yeah, an 8-inch LCD 1080p screen with two sides of a dual sense controller um, smacked to each other, to the sides of it. Sorry, and yeah, that is basically it. It works through Wi-Fi, which again makes sense because it's remote play. So as long as you have a good Wi-Fi connection, you can access your PlayStation 5 from anywhere, not just from your house, but also from anywhere in the world, as long as you have a good, strong, stable Wi-Fi connection. And if you're going to be using the PlayStation portal abroad or at your friend's place, you better darn skippy make sure that your PlayStation 5 is connected to the Ethernet instead of the Wi-Fi, so that you have a good connection at least from that point. And hope that your hotel or wherever you're staying or wherever you are, that the Wi-Fi is strong enough so that you can make a connection with your PlayStation 5 at home. That is all that it's gonna do. It won't connect to PlayStation Plus Premium, so you won't be able to cloud stream through that thing. And it doesn't have Bluetooth. So if you want to listen to the audio, you have two options. Three options, by the way. One, use the built-in speakers. Two, use the 3.7 and the 3.5 millimeter audio jack, so you can plug in headphones. Or three, buy expensive stuff all hell, PlayStation headphones or earbuds that support the PlayStation Link initiative, which is only available for two headsets that they also announced and is also coming out or is already out. The Pulse Elite wireless headset and the Pulse Explore wireless earbuds, which also costs around, I think one is like 150 and the other one is $200. So yeah, cool. Um, so someone did mention this, and I think it was Wolf then who who's probably said it best, that he was not looking at this as a handheld. And honestly, I agree with it. This is not a handheld. This is just a different controller so that you can play your PlayStation 5 games remotely. It's just a controller specifically made for remote play. If you look at it from that perspective, I can at least accept that it is a thing because the PlayStation, like, what is it? The PlayStation Pro controller? I forget what it's called. Is it? No, it's not Elite. Elite is Xbox. But yeah, their modular controller that they just released. I think that one is actually 230 bucks, something like that. So yeah, if you're looking at it from that perspective as a different kind of controller to use, honestly, you could do worse for a controller. Um, and I don't think any other third party is going to be doing this anytime soon, if at all, unless Sony allows them to do it. But mm, it's still pricey though. I don't like. Here's the thing: I don't like expensive controllers, and I don't like expensive controllers that have one purpose. I mean, at least with like the modular controller, um, you can mod it yourself and make it more to your liking. That one makes sense. But you can't do that with this. It's just a controller with a big old screen slapped in the middle, as it were, and that's it. The fact that it doesn't have Bluetooth, and you have to use their proprietary hardware so that you can have wireless audio is so bad, in my opinion. So the only other thing you can do is use wired earbuds, which, if that doesn't bother you, fine, whatever. Um, doesn't bother me that much, but it's just another thing that you have to take with you if you take it with you. It's like, but I already have wireless headphones. Just let me use them. Just let me use them. Just let me use them. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll say this: if I was a PlayStation 5 owner, I'd feel a little bit insulted. Um, I don't know who this is specifically for. Um, but yeah, I am 100% on board with Wolf. Then, um, cool looking controller. I'm not sure it's for everybody, but I'm pretty sure it's for somebody. Um, Speaking of, it's probably for somebody. Microsoft is selling decals for the Xbox Series X. At least I think it's for the Series X. Because they haven't shown anything. Yeah, it's for the Series X. So basically, Microsoft is gonna start selling console wraps themselves. The first one that they showed off was a console wrap for the that is themed after Starfield, because of course. Um, Maybe you tried to get your hands on one of those limited editions and you couldn't get your hands on it, and you're like, well, shucks, it looks really cool. I kind of wish my Xbox looked like that. Now you can do that by buying Xbox console wraps from Microsoft. They are looking into doing more. So this is the first one. And yeah, you can, in time, they'll probably release more of these. They also are introducing two other wraps, the Arctic Camo and the uh, mineral camo. So these are two camo patterns. Honestly, they do look kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, if you want to customize your Xbox officially by Microsoft, you can do that now. They do retail for $50. They'll be coming out October 18th. Um, Actually, for $50, that's not half bad. Um, and you can pre-order them now, and yeah, it's like they're going for a worldwide thing. So hey, just look up your local Microsoft Store website and get your pre-orders in, and even you can make your Xbox X look like something else. I know that you can get like D brand and stuff like that for like pretty much everything, but this is coming from Microsoft themselves, so they recognize that there is a market for it, big enough for them to be like, "Hey, we want a piece of that pie." And I don't blame them. I mean, look at like the Switch and like all the different Joy Cons that you can get from first party and third party. Um, Look at all the like the custom controllers for Xbox that you can get, official ones and non-official ones. PlayStation as well. Probably more so for PlayStation because PlayStation doesn't really do custom controllers that often, unless it's for like a collector's edition or something like that, or they're making like a special variant, like the Spider-Man controller with the Spider-Man bundle. So yeah, they don't do it as often, but that's why stuff like D brand exists. Um, yeah, that's honestly kind of cool. I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about it. Um, it's very nice if you want to switch up how your consoles look in an official capacity. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about, and I didn't want to start off with it because it would just get sad. But as I said in the intro of this episode, if you're watching the YouTube version, first of all, hi, thank you so much for watching it on YouTube. I appreciate it. Please subscribe, like, leave a comment if you can, of course, and yeah, share with your friends. But yeah, I left this one for last because it is the end of an era, and Nintendo recently announced on their socials that Charles Martinet, as of now, won't be voicing Mario or any other Nintendo characters in any Nintendo games again. Effectively retiring Charles Martinet from the role of Mario, Luigi, Waluigi, Wario. I think he also does the baby variants as well. Um, and yeah, he's not going to be voicing them anymore. They have effectively promoted him to Mario Ambassador. So it's not like he does not deal with the company anymore, but he will still be a part. It will still be like a part of Nintendo as Mario Ambassador, spreading the word of Mario, as it were, for Nintendo on Nintendo's behalf. They haven't really explained what that means, but I'm assuming it's what he's always done, which is go on tours, meet fans, and of course saying his iconic lines, and just interacting with with the community. Um, and it's crazy, right? Because he's been the voice of Mario for a long time. Like most people will remember, of course, Super Mario 64, where you hear those where you hear him for the first time, assuming you didn't have a PC in the mid 90s, where he voiced Mario before for some PC games, specifically, notably, one that I played back when I was a kid, Mario's Game Gallery, which was a collection of board games like backgammon and checkers and Yahtzee and Go Fish and stuff like that. And I used to play this a lot with my dad and my little sister. And yeah, it is the first time that we heard Mario speak, and it was Charles Martinet. And even before that, he was hired to be the voice of Mario at conventions where they had this floating um, Mario head, kind of like Mario 64. It's basically what it inspired the floating head in Mario 64, where he would pretend to be Mario and have this smoke capped Mario floating head talk to convention goers in the iconic Mario voice. And it is from that he ended up voicing him in the PC games and eventually, of course, as we know, voicing Mario in Super Mario 64. And basically, the rest is history. Eventually, he also started voicing Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, Baby Mario, and Baby Luigi, and he's been doing that for wow, considering how old Mario 64 is, for a good 20 years, but more even. It's so long. It's been so long that you can't even imagine like what it would be like if Mario wasn't voiced by Martinet. And I mean, we got a little bit of a taste of it with the Super Mario Brothers movie with Chris Pratt playing Mario and Charles Martinet playing Mario and Luigi's dad, and the dude from the Punch Out restaurant playing the not Donkey Kong arcade system, uh, but clearly the Donkey Kong arcade system, and doing that iconic Mario voice in the movie. And it is a very surreal thing to think that we will never hear his performance again. And it's also ironic because months before, when they first showed off the trailer for Super Mario Brothers Wonder, there were some people saying that that didn't sound like Charles Martinet's performance. And I was pretty skeptical. I mean, he sounded a little bit different, but you know, people age, people's voice change when they age. No matter how good of a voice actor you are, you're going to notice that their voice has changed, even if it is subtle. Honestly, the only reason why people were saying that is because Mario has never said the words "wowie zowie" before, like ever. And yeah, I will give them that. Mario has never said "wowie zowie" before because he always says "wahoo, let's go, yahoo! Thank you so much for playing my game, wahoo!" And stuff like that. And yeah, that people were able to pick it up from that is crazy because Nintendo then later came out and confirmed, yeah, that was not Charles Martinet. Someone else is voicing Mario. And we don't know who this person is, and we don't know who are the other people that are going to be voicing characters that he voiced for Nintendo yet. But in the statement that they released, they did say that they were going to have a special video message from both Charles Martinet and Shigeru Miyamoto, addressing the matter further. I'm assuming this will be closer to the launch of Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Well, they'll probably talk about the history of how Charles Martinet got the part and talk about like how it's been for him and his relationship with Nintendo and Miyamoto, and maybe even introducing the new voice of Mario or something like that. I don't know what they're going to do. This is uncharted territory in terms of the gaming world. Um, we've had a lot of different voice actors voicing iconic characters. Like if you look at something like, say, Sonic, he's been voiced by, I want to say, at least four different voice actors in the past 20 years. And I'm not even talking about like animated properties. I'm just strictly talking about the video games. And um yeah, I mean it's crazy, right? Like that felt like, oh, maybe it was their time or their contract expired and they were looking for someone else to voice Sonic and his friends. Um but with Nintendo, they always stuck with Charles Martinet. His performance is iconic. The voice was iconic. And now we're gonna have someone who's essentially doing a similar job, but maybe putting their own spin on it just enough. So, but still adhering to the iconic, oh, it's a me, Mario, kind of, the vibe and the cadence. But of course, it's not going to be 100%, like Charles Martinet's performance because it isn't Charles. Um, it's crazy. I mean, he's been in so many different games. I'm not even talking about mainline Mario games. It's the new Super Mario Bros. Series. It's the Mario and Luigi RPGs. It's the sports games, Mario Kart. Uh, it's doing special messages for like like special occasions and stuff like that. And we're not going to hear his performance again. He's still going to be around, but he doesn't have to like go into a booth and belt out, "It's a me, Mario. Welcome to Super Mario Odyssey." Wahoo! He doesn't have to do that anymore. And I'm sure that he feels also bittersweet about that. I don't know. But he did leave a message on his, like former site known as Twitter, and thanking the fans for supporting him for all those years. And wow, it's just crazy. I don't think I don't think part of me always assumed that he would do this forever, even though I know that that's technically impossible. And it sounds very childish, right? To think that someone can do something for forever. Um, but yeah, I mean, at a certain time, it had to happen. It just took a long ass time to get here. Oh man. Uh, oh my gosh, I'm getting a little bit emotional about this. Yeah. Uh, I guess the only thing I can say is I don't know if he'll see this message. I hope he does. It would be amazing if Charles Martinet were to hear this, and I know that he's received already a bunch of like thank yous and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm being original here, but if you for some reason do hear this, Mr. Charles Martinet, from the bottom of my heart, as a Nintendo fan, thank you. Thank you for giving one of the most, if not the most iconic characters in video game history his voice and lending your voice to him and his rival, his brother's rival, even the baby versions, your voice. Thank you for bringing them to life for us for all these years. And whatever it is you do in the future, if it's full on retirement, if it's working on different projects, I wish you well on that. And all I can say is thank you so much for voicing our favorite character. Woohoo! And with that, ladies and gentlemen, rivals, we have come to the end of a very interesting episode of Game Rivals. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate you. Appreciate you even more. If you, again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, click on the like if you like the episode, and leave a comment. That helps with the discoverability. I've been seeing that more and more people are starting to actually look at the episode for longer. So hopefully, people do actually get to the end and see this message. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Um, as I've stated before in previous episodes, still looking for other co hosts to join me on this bi weekly adventure. So if you do know anybody or if you think you're interested in joining, I would appreciate it. Just, you can always find me on Instagram, which is at Maximilian underscore X. You can also find me on uh, TikTok, which is also at Maximilian underscore X, or you can find me on YouTube, which is also at Maximilian underscore X. You can also send me an email to gamerivalsfeedback@gmail.com. And you can also find me here. Um, and of course, if you're listening to the podcast or you want to listen to the podcast, we're on pretty much every podcasting service, from Apple Podcasts to Google Podcasts, Overcast, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, you name it, we're probably there. And with that said, I have been and always will be Maximilian X, and I'll see all of you beautiful rivals next time. Later. Woohoo!